today, proudly brought to you by the South Surrey and White Rock Chamber of Commerce and the Peninsula Homeless to Housing Society. My name is Ritu Khanna, Executive Director of the Chamber, and I'm here with Pastor Rick Bear of Grace Point Community Church and Adriana Spiker, both co-chairs of the Peninsula Homeless to Housing Society. I'll pass it to Rick.
Thank you, Ritu. And as she said, my name is Rick, and I'm privileged to be the lead pastor here at Grace Point Church. And it's our privilege to host this event and help sponsor this event because we believe the priorities of Jesus should be our priorities, and that is to care for the marginalized, the homeless, and around affordable housing in our community. And it's because of my faith that I got involved in Peninsula Homeless to Housing Task Force, or PH2H as we're known. We've been around since 2007 here on the Peninsula, and we advocate and educate and inform around homelessness issues and affordable housing. And you all know about them, right? You know that there are 30 to 40 homeless individuals that live here on the Peninsula, or that there's more than 11,000 people in Surrey that are at risk of homelessness because they spend more than 50% of their income on housing. You know, but beyond any of the stats I could give you, I could tell you about one individual, and let me call him Joe. He just lives up in the field up there where you parked your car. And in fact, you may run into him this evening. And it's about people. And so thank you for coming out this evening. And our bathroom is right on that side over there. And if you'd like to learn more about PH2H, we have a table at the back there, and you can learn a little bit more about our organization. Let me pass it over to my co-chair, Adriana.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm a little intimidated by the crowd, but very excited that we have such a big showing. And hello to everyone who's also viewing online. My name's Adriana, and I'm very proud to help co-chair the Peninsula Homelessness to Housing Task Force. Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge that here we are. We work and gather on the traditional, stolen, ancestral, unceded territories of the Semiahmoo First Nations and the broader Coast Salish territories of the ancestral, traditional, stolen territories of the Katsi, Coquitlam, Kwantlen, Kakite First Nations, and on the ancestral, traditional territories of the Tsawwassen First Nations. At PH2H, and also for here tonight, we really want to make a meaningful and intentional effort towards our learnings and understandings and what it truly means to be in this place where we call home, where we work, where we live, where we eat, and where we grow. This acknowledgement is really to remind us of our place in this community, and also noting that we've all arrived here differently. I want to remind folks of the importance in acknowledging the history, as well as the impacts of our colonial institutions that we see here today. Recognizing many of our privileges, I want to encourage all folks, and especially all candidates and future elected officials, to meaningfully move forward. What we now call Canada, and what we have here, what we call Surrey, is the original land of the Indigenous peoples long before any of us were here and long before any of our borders were created. We have the opportunity, and we really do call upon all candidates and future elected officials to do things differently with these learnings and understandings and really disrupt our current systems. So, everyone here, I will give you an opportunity. May you please take out your cell phones and make sure they're on vibrate or silent. Hear the ruffles. So yes, please turn your cell phones on vibrate or silent. Again, we encourage all pictures and videos. Just before we start, also want to make acknowledgement that here tonight we have a privilege to have all of our candidates for Surrey up here, for mayoral candidates. Recognizing that we all have different experiences and different views, we just want to make a reminder to keep this place as respectful as we can so that we can have an opportunity to hear what our candidates have to say. So that in mind, we really do ask the audience to, please consider the respect nature to our candidates as well to our moderators and us, and also for the candidates to one another and the candidates to the audience. Also, just make note, if we notice any of our moderators or any of us, if we notice any immediate harm or anything that we need to stop, we will have to stop. Or if there is something that we need to do, we might have to ask folks to leave. But I think we're all going to be okay here and on the same page to have a meaningful and engaging evening. If there is anything that any of you would like to debrief with us later, we will be here this evening. And also the candidates are also free to join at one of their tables if you'd like to connect with them too. Thank you.
Thank you. And so the Chamber has been serving the community and businesses since 1937. We support, promote, and advocate for not just businesses, but the community. So sometimes there's the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board, an association of over 4,800 real estate professionals who live, work in the BC communities of North Delta, Surrey, White Rock, Langley, Abbotsford, and Mission. They also just marked their 100-year anniversary in 2021. Congratulations. And we have We Film Events, who've been in business since 2010. They're a South Surrey business specializing in assisting associations, nonprofit organizations, and educational conferences to film, stream, and promote events. So this event is being live streamed right now on the Chamber's Facebook page and YouTube channel, and will be available for viewing later as well. And we want to introduce our mayoral candidates.
Yes. Thank you, Ritu. And it is better to do things together. I'm just thinking back to our first meeting when we had met a couple weeks ago as PH2H. We had decided to organize this forum, and then Ritu approached us about joining in. And, you know, as we talked around values, and I just thought, yeah, we, both organizations, want to see a flourishing community here, you know, that all persons can live in this community and can do well in this community. So let me introduce our mayoral candidates, and these are in alphabetical order according to last names. And so we've got Amrit Birring, Sukh Dhaliwal, Gordie Hogg, Brenda Locke, Doug McCallum, Kuldip Pelia, Jinny Sims, and John Milton Wolanski.
So today we are focusing on the mayoral candidates, but please keep in mind that there are also people running for trustees. There's 20 individuals running for the school trustee position, and for councillor candidates, there's actually 56 individuals running. So even though they're not going to get a chance to speak today, do take time. Many of them are here today. They have tables on the side as well. They'll be part of the meet and greet. And, you know, don't just give it a given that you're listening to the mayor and you'll vote for their slate. You really want to get to know the individuals. They all come in different experiences. Some are new to politics, but they've put their name forward, and what they have in common is that they care about our community. So it's important that you give them the time before you vote. And I think we're on to I would like to introduce our moderator, Lance Peverly. He is a former journalist and filmmaker, serving as editor of the Peace Arch News from 2007 to 2018. More recently, he has mentored Langara College journalism students for Black Press and Vancouver's Megaphone magazine. He was born in White Rock, and he knows the community well. We're lucky to have him. He's done our pass all candidates as well. So we're just going to pass the mic on to him. He's going to read the rules, and we're going to get on to the opening statements and questions. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. We'll kick it off right away because I know we've got a lot of ground to cover here. I'm going to read the rules. Rule number 1, each candidate will speak starting in alphabetical order of their last name. Number 2, the order of who responds first will rotate with each question. Each candidate will receive 60 seconds for opening statements and 90 seconds for closing statements and 75 seconds to respond to questions. A yellow card will be raised indicating 15 seconds remain. A red card will be raised indicating your time is up. If needed, the moderator has the option to interrupt the speaker if they do not end their statements. Number 4, we've got each candidate will have the opportunity for rebuttals during the forum. Once all the candidates have answered a particular question, a candidate can raise their hand for a 30-second rebuttal to answer or clarify a statement made. Please note, each candidate will only be able to use 2 rebuttals during the whole forum, and it will be tracked. Lastly, the audience is asked to be respectful and polite. If necessary, individuals will be asked to leave. Thank you so much for joining us, candidates. It's time for introductory statements by each candidate. You have 60 seconds, and we're going to start with candidate Birring.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Amrit Birring. I am representing People's Council Surrey. This is a new party formed for this election for a single purpose: to defend our freedoms. We are sitting in a church In last 2 years, churches have been closed, temples have been closed. And that's at the behest of some international powers who are also attacking our family values, religion, even our gender identity. So we are fighting against it. And the housing issue is also attached to it. I believe government has on purpose orchestrated doubling of our housing prices to make everyone poor. And we see it every day. Middle income people are becoming lower. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are going to move on now to candidate Dhaliwal.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sukh Dhaliwal, and I'm a member of parliament. This is my 5th term. By profession, I'm a professional engineer as well as land surveyor and resident of Surrey for the past over 25 years. This is where I raised my family. Between my wife Ronnie and myself, we have 3 children, 2 daughters that has already gone through the medical school, both practicing medicine, and son is going through the university. And before I got into politics, along with my professional engineer status as well as land surveyor status, I'm a small business person as well. And during my term as a member of parliament, I have sat on many different committees, including infrastructure, communities, international trade, immigration, and you name it. And I'm running for the United Surrey team, which is a very diverse team from cultural perspective with the credentials they bring in and from the areas that they live. And again, my name is Sukh Dhaliwal, and thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to opening statement from candidate Hogg.
So, okay, if I stand up?
I'm good with it, I think.
Oh, thank you very much. My name is Gordie Hogg, and I'm running with Surrey First, and we have a very exciting team. We believe in inclusivity, diversity, and equity as 3 of the principles. My background is I started out as a probation officer in Wally and got to work there for the first part of my career. I then was director of the Wellington Youth Detention Center for 14 years. I've also been the mayor of White Rock. I've been an MLA for this area and a member of parliament. Through that process, I've been blessed with a number of great experiences and opportunities at 3 levels of government, and I'm very pleased to be able to say that I've learned a whole lot. The most important part of that is understanding that so often we have to go, I have to land the plane, Laverne will say. So often we have to do things that we receive directions from academics and bureaucrats, and I think it's so important that we have information from people who have lived experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move on to candidate Locke.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Brenda Locke, and I'm a former MLA and cabinet minister. I'm also currently a city councillor here in the great city of Surrey. Previously in my working career, I was an executive director both in hospitality and healthcare. But what I think is most important is that I'm a 40-year resident of this city. I absolutely love this city. I've raised my kids here, and they've gone to school here. In fact, Lance's dad was my kid's principal. This is an amazing city that we are gifted with. I am running on the Surrey Connect team, and what is critical to us is ethics at City Hall. We have seen that deteriorate over the last 4 years. We need to bring that back. The second big issue for all of us is public safety, and I can promise you that Surrey Connect is the best choice for bringing public safety back to our city. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. We now move on to candidate McCallum.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Doug McCallum. I'm running for mayor of the city of Surrey with the Safe Surrey Coalition. My past is my mother and dad met in Grand Forks, BC, and when I was very young, I grew up there. My mother was a wheat farmer, and my dad was in small business. We brought our family to Vancouver and then eventually to Crescent Beach. I've lived in Crescent Beach in Surrey for over 50 years. I bought my house about 40 years ago, and I live in the same house as I bought 40 years ago today. I have loved this city. The city is very vibrant right now. There's people from all over the world living and working here, and I look that it's a real challenge as we move forward, and I look forward to that challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move on to candidate Pelia.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome this evening. My name is Kuldip Pelia. So I'm a mayoral candidate for Surrey this year. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Kuldip Pelia as mayoral candidate for Surrey. I'm an accounting and finance professional working as a social activist for the last 10 years. I opposed LRT for 5 years and wrote numerous letters to TransLink Board and Health Minister to improve public transportation and public and health care services for the citizens of Surrey. If elected as a mayor, I will work for the common man. We'll build more recreation centers, arenas, swimming pools, libraries. I also will increase affordable housing units, child care spaces, and get a new 20,000 student capacity community college. I will make recreation facilities free for all seniors 60 and above. I will also widen the roads to reduce traffic. So ladies and gentlemen, join me to create a new Surrey and all-around development of Surrey and not being single-tracked like mayors in the past. You are welcome to visit
Thank you very much, candidate Pelia.
and Google me or visit my Facebook page. Thank you.
We now move on to candidate Sims.
Thank you very much. My name is Jinny Sims. I'm a teacher. I've been president of the BCTF. I've been an MLA here in Surrey, an MP before that, a cabinet minister, and currently I'm on leave as an MLA without pay and benefits to run for mayor since the 8th of June, the day I announced. I am running today to be the mayor of Surrey because I think we have critical issues that have not been addressed. Housing, affordability is a huge issue wherever I go, in whichever part of the city I travel in. The lack of public transit really concerns people because the cost of transportation has gone up and our city is really huge in geography. I have put together a very diverse team. They are diverse in their skill sets, they are diverse in their ethnicity, but they have a passion to take Surrey in the right direction and build a city that has the potential where our diversity is our economic engine and where we can succeed.
Thank you very much. We now move on to candidate Wolanski.
Okay, I'm John Wolanski, Party of One. Subject, okay, I wrote this some time ago last year. Subject, the political pool in this country at all levels needs a little chlorine. All politicians in positions of power are using the pandemic as political cover for the so-called social engineering projects. Dissent from citizens has been muted by restrictions of assembly, municipally, provincially, and federally. In reality, if an honest appraisal can be made, people will probably be more afraid of what you'll do to them than for them. As politicians, it is the only duty assumed to conduct the people's business, not to keep people to business. I will continue this later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was the opening statements we've had so far, so we're going to start with the questions, and as we said, we're going to alternate here. We're going to start with candidate Dhaliwal. I will read out the question. If we can just take 1 second here. Unfortunately, I refuse to share my microphone, so you're going to have to listen to me the entire evening, but here we go. The first question is on the subject of affordable housing, and this was submitted by the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board. In light of numerous examples of businesses and residential developments waiting 12+ months for approval, the BC government has published roadmaps for addressing issues of housing affordability through the Development Approvals Process Review and the BC Canada Expert Panel on the Future of Housing Supply and Affordability. If you are elected, what measures from these reports will you adopt to streamline approvals and fast-track developments to assist small businesses, industries, and housing? First up, candidate Dhaliwal.
Thank you, Lance. And in fact, it's a great question. When we launched the United Surrey campaign a few months ago, if you look at the 4-point plan that we brought forward, one of them was to make sure the permits and projects are processed the fastest in the Lower Mainland, because we have seen these people waiting months and years and nothing get done unless you know, insider in the City Hall. My focus on the affordability will be working with the federal government and the provincial government. In fact, federal government has also put $4 billion aside to hire new planners, new building inspectors, and new plan checkers, so we are able to make this process the fastest. More units we produce, better it is for affordability, and that is where my focus will be, not my way or the highway. In fact, working with 3 orders of the government to bring in whatever we can for the people of Surrey.
Thank you very much. Move on to candidate Hogg, same question.
Well, I agree that things are taking far too long to get approved in our city. The challenges are that we're duplicating so incredibly many things. I've met with some developers who wanted to build something, and they were over 4 years waiting, and they were paying $300,000 a month in interest charges. So if it ever got approved, those would be built into the cost of housing in Surrey, and that's tragic. I think there are a number of things we can do to speed up the process. One would be that we ensure that if a developer or a person that's dividing a lot in their own home, if they get an engineer, a private engineer to come and look at it, a certified engineer who's insured, then we should approve that and not have it go to the city and have another engineer look at it. That would speed up the process somewhat. I think we need an organizational review to see what does happen and how well we manage that process. I think we should be transparent. So if somebody comes and applies, that should go up on the internet so you can see where you are in order to what the expectation is. And I think we should have a staff member that leads people from the planning department to the engineering department so that they don't get lost in between. I hear too many people say, I just got through planning and now I have to go to engineering and there's nobody there. We should have a process to lead them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move on to candidate Locke.
Well, thank you. Certainly in the city of Surrey, there is no doubt that we need additional staff in our planning department, and not just in our building planning department, in our social planning department. We are far below where we need to be there. One of the things that has to happen is the political interference that is happening right now at City Hall needs to stop and stop immediately. That is causing a great deal of morale problems with our city staff, and we need to put an end to that. But more specifically in addressing what this is asking, it's about what the reports are talking about. And so very specifically, we need to lean on technology. We can lean on technology to do a better job of getting processes through. We need to reduce red tape. There is 1 ton of red tape, and we are hearing every day from people who are even doing a simple infill. It is taking far, far too long. We can do a much better job of getting those plans through the system. We also need to make sure that people are treated with fairness and that there is one door and one door only to City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, candidate McCallum.
Yeah, thank you very much. When COVID was here in the last 2 years, it stopped everything as far as all cities in BC, including planning, built up a big backlog. I personally went and talked to the Premier of the BC and got our development and planning going ahead through COVID by using emergency measures that kept jobs in our city. We also afterwards, 3 months ago, went across Canada and looked at every big city. Fastest approval, 10 weeks in Calgary and Toronto. We now brought that in 3 months ago, but that's not fast enough. We have to be a lot faster. So our staff just recently will do 6 mock setups of houses for people who want to build houses. You'll be able to come in, pick one of those stock model houses, and we will give you 2 weeks approval process on that. We also have to looking at technology and use technology far better. We need to continue to look at new ways to do it. The cost of that goes up. If we don't do something, the price of housing goes up. So we want to institute that right away. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Candidate Pelia.
Okay. Housing is very near to me. I've been a renter all my life for 36 years. I know the problems the people who face when they rent. We need housing, but what to do? We need more co-op housing. Co-op housing is very good. We need more city housing. And the first thing, like for example, if we need immediately, we need those BC housing to increase the subsidy. Because subsidies, right now, it's available only to seniors or families with at least one kid. I want that subsidy should be available to everybody depending on a certain level of income. So we need, especially the societies like UNITI, if they can create extra housing on no profit basis, we'll welcome it. We need more housing, definitely for sure. We don't want people leave Surrey. So we'll do whatever it takes to create extra housing. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Candidate Sims.
Thank you very much. Housing is the #1 issue for people in Surrey. There is a supply of affordable housing, of a reasonably priced house for the average family, low middle income, both to buy and to rent. #1, in our first 2 years, we would double the number of permits issued and make sure that there is a high percentage of rental that's below market, social rental, and rentals for low and middle income, as well as to buy. But the question we've been asked here is, what would we take from the roadmap that the provincial government has put out? One of them would be to double BC's capital grants for non-profits to allow shovel-ready projects in high-need communities. That would be #1, because we know how dire our need is. We would also streamline the permitting process. And there are ways to do that, looking at pre-approved plans, but also at streamlining the different types of permitting process. We would also have to increase staff support and services for people living in supportive housing so that they are more successful as they transition from the street into housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Candidate Wolanski.
Okay, there's a big backlog on the approval process, and that has to be cleared, but at the same time, you can't just run these things through in 3 days. If you know about City Hall and holidays and that, the people have to be able to see that these projects are safe, they're done. We don't want to do any fix-ups, and this is what's going to happen. You're going to fast-track this thing, and then it'll be like running all over the place, and the next thing you know, we got to fix this up. This costs money. If we don't get this house in order, what's going to happen is the provincial government is going to bring the hammer down, and they're going to regulate it. So you guys got to get your house in order. These guys are all career politicians. Even Jinny is she's part of the provincial government, and this should have been taken care of a long time ago, but apparently now we run for mayor and we can fix this thing overnight. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we move on to candidate Birring.
Housing issue is very dear to me. I have 2 videos on YouTube. If you search on YouTube Amrit Birring, they will come up. Housing issue is engineered by federal, provincial, and city governments, because in addition to banks and real estate industry, because they all benefit from it. First, they started selling Canada to foreign investors. they scooped up every house available. And now, on a 38 million population, we are taking in about 1 million people every year. We are eating more than what we can digest. You have to think, in such a big country, why do we have housing issue? It's just a no-brainer. So what we need to do is, we need to release land for housing and build as fast as we can, including townhomes and condo. It will bring down quality of life, but that's where we are. And why I'm saying it's engineered by different governments, because they keep increasing property taxes as the houses go. Same thing for real estate industries. Banks get their cut, so that's where the problem lies. So that's what we need to fight back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We finished the first round of questions. We're going to move on to the second question of the evening. This one will be first, candidate Hogg will be starting this one off. The topic is transportation and infrastructure, and it was submitted by the Chamber of Commerce. South Surrey suffers from congestion and the challenge of employees of local businesses who have to commute long distances. Responsibility for transportation is highly fractured, with multiple levels of government having different levels of responsibility. What is your vision and priorities for the transportation infrastructure in our community specifically? Candidate Hogg.
Well, thank you. Sukh and I were in the House of Commons when funding was given to the City of Surrey to build SkyTrain. We thought at that time that it was going to be going to Newton. However, the city made a determination to go to Langley, and we respected that, saying that the decision should be made locally. Now our biggest challenge is getting to Newton and getting to South Surrey. I recently had a meeting with a member of the BC Transit, a member of the board, and he's saying that we have vehicles that just look like SkyTrain, but they're on wheels, and that we could designate those running down the side of King George Boulevard, and they would be coordinated with the lights so they could travel quickly down there and carry the same number of people. That costs about 1/10 the cost of SkyTrain. So that's something that could happen quickly, and envisioning having spears off that to run either side of that. That would be our first priority, to ensure that we get that transportation. All of us know how backed up things get as we try to go around King George Boulevard to make our way around the city. That would be the first priority. Secondly, we want to get to South Surrey as well. So we have to find some ways to do that. And one of those would be rapid buses in a new fashion of that, and ultimately getting something similar to what I just described. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Move on to candidate Locke.
He landed the plane. Thank you. It's actually a really important question for our city. One of the things that we do know is SkyTrain to Langley is going to be an asset for this city, but it is only one very small part of transportation, because it's all about getting all around the city, and the last mile is always that big, tricky one. So we need to do this immediately. This isn't for tomorrow or the next day. We need to immediately get more buses. Buses, at the end of the day, are the workhorse of the public transit system. And we need more, and we need bigger. We need more of the B lines and the rapid bus going throughout our city to move people. Right now, I met with Unifor not too long ago, and I can tell you they have told me they are canceling routes in Surrey, which is absolutely outrageous. We should never be doing that. We have to treat our bus drivers, by the way, a lot better than we are as well. But there are just too many buses that right now are running too full, and we see those all the time, so we have to improve the bus service. And BRT, I think, is what Gordie's talking about, and that's the new world order for transportation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Candidate McCallum.
Thank you very much. Transportation and infrastructure. We're currently building SkyTrain from our city center to Langley, a $4 billion project, largest infrastructure project currently are building in Canada. We also are going to build SkyTrain from our city center down to Newton in the first stage. Second stage, build it from Newton down to South Surrey and White Rock. That's in the transportation plan, 10-year plan, to do all of that. Anyone can have a look at it. It's in there, and I got it in there on behalf of South Surrey to be sure that it came down to White Rock. Double-decker buses, I was involved in getting double-decker buses to speed up the bus service between South Surrey and Vancouver. It is very efficiently now. It needs to have more buses. The roads need to be improved. We are improving 32nd. We're going to start construction on the overpass on 20th. If we can make our roads better for people to travel, then the traffic will move a lot more smoothly. We will continue to look at new improvements, including the Bailey Bridge that you see is currently being improved.
Thank you so much. Pass the microphone, please. And candidate Pelia.
Thank you very much. I am very much concerned with transportation. I've written hundreds of emails to TransLink to improve bus service in Surrey. Okay, my vision is that we should have more SkyTrain Surrey to Langley, plus Newton, King George to right up to White Rock, and then from Scott Road to 72, and from 72 to Newton. That's my vision. And then I also need direct bus service, because Surrey is a big city, direct bus service to UBC, to SFU, to airport, to Maple Ridge, and to Abbotsford. And also all the buses like 319, 320, 321, we need more bus service because the buses are overcrowded. So this is my vision, that we need more SkyTrain and direct bus services to different cities all around and the airport, and more frequency of bus service. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move on to candidate Sims.
Thank you very much. There is a huge deficit in public transit in Surrey. We all agree. It is a gridlock if you go down King George, down 80th, 88th, you name it. So what's the solution? One, yes, we're very glad there is a SkyTrain going to Langley, but most of Surrey got neglected, and there is a feeling of betrayal there. We need a SkyTrain through Newton to South Surrey. In the meantime, while that SkyTrain gets built, what do we need? We need more rapid buses, we need more routes, we need them running more often. We know that if a bus runs every 10 minutes on the rapid bus route, more people are likely to use public transit. And then we need bus services into the different communities. It's not just about the main arteries, it's about getting people to where they live, where they shop, and where they play as well. All of those things are very important, and I believe I have the skill set, I have the connections to be able to negotiate for those at the mayor's table, and also to go to the provincial and federal government and bring funding in so we get this done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to candidate Wolanski.
I've got skin in the game. I've got a transit pass. That's how I get around. All these guys here have taxpayer-funded, almost all of them, taxpayer-funded car allowances. So how about that? How about we just get more buses? The SkyTrain to Langley is being purged through, but now he's promising the current mayor SkyTrain to Newton. Finish what you start. Quit adding more debt on the payroll on the taxpayer who can barely afford to live. These people here, all they want to do is get power. Party politics doesn't work. We don't need this at the municipal level. They should just go back to where they came from and let us run our city as the way we see fit. Thank you.
We'll move on now to candidate Birring.
I have taken transit my entire life. From Surrey, take a bus to SkyTrain, go to downtown, come back. Takes about 70 minutes one way. When the door opens in rush hour, you have to push in, otherwise you will be left out. And I've lived in many different cities, Singapore, New Delhi. So whenever population increases, always roads keep getting clogged and gets worse and worse. And with we receiving about 1,200 people every month, it's only gonna get worse. So we need to think big. So my vision is, if this is the map of Surrey, we'll run a ring train around it, which encircles it so that people can go from anywhere to anywhere. And at local stations, there should be buses going to neighborhoods. So we need to come up with a big plan. Otherwise, we'll always be chasing the tail. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Candidate Dhaliwal.
Thank you, Lance. Again, bit of a background. As I started my political career back in early 2000, I was the member for Newton North Delta at the time. As a member, I made sure, because at that time I had to serve North Delta as well. So the funding that came, from the Paul Martin government at the time for the South Fraser perimeter, Highway 10 widening, and 176, I advocated for that one, and also worked with the Burns Bog as well, because when we were gonna have this South Fraser perimeter road going, Burns Bog, people came forward, Eliza Olson, we gave them $40 million to save the Burns Bog. And I worked with the Panorama Ratepayers Association to make sure, I worked with Kevin Falcon, the minister responsible at that time, to mitigate any noise barrier that we need to. On coming back to the SkyTrain, I agree with my friend Gordie here. We fought hard to bring the money here for Surrey. 40% money in the SkyTrain is invested by the federal government, 40% by the provincial government, and we were there to get that money, but instead of serving Newton and South Surrey, this mayor and council decided to help Langley.
Thank you very much. Before we move on to the third question, I just want to remind all candidates they do have 2 rebuttals throughout the evening. If anybody wants, I'm trying to watch for your eyes. You'll catch my eye and we'll get you up first for the rebuttal. Next question is on emergency shelters, and that is sponsored by PH2H. There is a growing need for emergency shelters, transitional housing, and permanent supportive housing for people experiencing or at risk of homelessness throughout Surrey, including here in South Surrey. There are many different factors for this, such as the high cost of rent to wages, demolitions of existing rental residences, high cost of living, as well as complex health factors. Many times, community and faith-based organizations are left to respond to the immediate need. How will you support the need for permanent shelters, e.g. extreme weather response, transitional housing, permanent supportive housing in South Surrey, and in other communities throughout Surrey? We're going to start with candidate Locke.
Thank you. Well, first of all, we will ensure that there is all kinds of housing in all of the town centers of Surrey. I have advocated every spring and every fall that we have warming and cooling centers in this city, and we have at times let residents down, and I'm deeply concerned about that. But when our team is elected, we will ensure that we work with the NGOs so that those facilities are up and running and available every spring and every fall. We know when the bad weather comes, and we will use community resources, we will use community centers. In terms of more permanent shelters, we will be working with all levels of government to make sure that we can put in the facilities that we need to put in to work with our most vulnerable population. That includes Metro Vancouver. And I can tell you that Metro Vancouver has let us down desperately. Surrey has 5 Metro Vancouver affordable housing units. Vancouver has 14. We pay the same tax base. It isn't fair. We need fairness in this system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move on to candidate McCallum.
Thank you very much. Emergency shelter is very, very important. Before I was mayor, I worked for a provincial corporation that dealt in the Vancouver east side. I spent 4 years down there with United Church first, and I learned all about the homeless. And it's not just about housing. We got to teach them technology. We got to provide dental work for them, medical. We worked very hard, and I learned from down there. Last 4 years that I got elected, we have built with different corporations and ourselves 10 homeless shelters in Surrey. And we built them differently. They provide shelter, but they also provide full kitchens, and so each of them provides food for it. Also, there's social workers there. There's dentists that come in. Dentistry actually is very important for homeless and their teeth and so forth because of the pain. So we have 360-degree work with it. And lately, we just complex care facility, the only one in North America with for the homeless. It's a homeless shelter that has many addictions and so forth. It's operating in Surrey. It's going to be a model that is going to be used in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move on to candidate Pelia.
Okay, when I see in Surrey Centre, people sitting here, drunk here, homeless people, my heart sinks. We'll make some permanent space, because I lived in Toronto for 18 years, and there I hardly saw these type of people walking around. They have very nice permanent centers, and we will do the same. They will be taken care of. There will be security there. There will be proper feeding, everything. That's what is needed in Surrey. We don't want another East Vancouver in Surrey. That's for my guarantee. We will take care of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move on to candidate Sims.
Over the last 4 years, the city has failed miserably in building supportive housing, in building low-income housing, and in building middle-income housing. I looked at the numbers for Vancouver. For the 2020, the number was 21% of its total, and for Surrey, it was 2%. And we know we have a serious problem, so we have to look at that. The BC government has just announced some initiatives, and one of them is doubling BC's capital grants for nonprofits to allow shovel-ready projects in high-need communities. We certainly are a high-need community, so I would be looking at that. And also making sure that we build affordability into all projects in all parts of Surrey. And inclusive housing is very, very important. We all know what happened to Harmony House, and I can tell you it's going to be built. The other thing that we really have to do is when people are in supportive housing, we have to give them wraparound service. A roof over the head is not enough without the wraparound service, working with Fraser Health and all the other agencies to make sure that people can transition as they go through the challenges of homing and living in a home.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We now move on to candidate Wolanski.
The Reverend Jesse Jackson once said, "Never look down on a man unless you're giving him a hand up." What happens is federal and provincial governments are responsible for housing. We had a Canada housing strategy. The provinces are responsible for housing. We shut down Riverview for treatment and stuff like that. It's partially open right now, but there is space on there that we can actually provide some services. So these candidates on here, provincially and federally, you should be looking at them to solve the mess they put together for Surrey right now and throughout the Lower Mainland. I'm just a little guy, and I don't get big donations from parties and special interests, but I just realized that there's a big five like the auto companies right here, so if you want to give them some more money, feel free.
Thank you very much. We now move on to candidate Birring.
First of all, it's very tragic that some people have to live on street, whether because of drugs, someone abandoned them, or they just get very poor. I think it's a failure of our government at all levels, federal, provincial, and city. And it's a very strange that these government officials who are sitting here in power, they're talking about solving the problem which they created, either by their incompetence. I mean, there's a reason why rich are getting richer and poor are getting poorer. It's in front of us. Everyone knows that poorer people getting all more poorer. It's because if it were their incompetence, that's one thing. But I believe they are engineering it. As I alluded first, that some international powers are directing them, whose purpose is to make Canadians poor and miserable. Why? Because poor people cannot fight for their rights. They're hand to mouth. So that's part of agenda, and that's why we are fighting for it. Housing is basic to everyone. You deprive people of housing, the whole country is finished. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Candidate Dhaliwal.
Thank you again. A bit of a background. What happens is the federal government used to give money to the provincial government, then provincial government will give the money to the local municipalities to build affordable housing. But recently, the federal government brought in a rapid housing project. When the phase one came in, my friend Gordie and myself were there fighting hard, and overnight, minister picked up a phone, called mayor, and gave the money for the rapid housing. Then the second phase came out, and again, the members of parliament, we fought hard, and the minister picked up a phone and called the mayor that we are going, if you build it fast enough, we will give you more money. And we built the Littles, which is on 92nd and King George. In fact, there are programs that are available. The federal government still helps to non-profit organizations. If they want to build affordable housing, they give 70%. And I'm sure the church like this can avail those opportunities, and we will work with the different orders of the government to make sure all those dollars come back here to Surrey.
Thank you very much. Candidate Hogg.
Well, I agree with just about everybody. Just about everybody. But I also want to acknowledge that the local level has a tremendous ability to affect change. It's nice to have provincial and federal, but at the local level, we can rezone. We can give greater zoning or a little bit more height in exchange for more housing. So for instance, if we have an apartment block or a condominium that wants to build with, say, 50 units, we can give a little more space to it and say we want 2 units, the title of which are going to be given to a nonprofit society so that they can run those. We can do those things in our community. We have the ability and authority to actually affect that kind of change. There's been Canada has done the best research in the world with respect to homelessness, the very best. And Simon Fraser has just come out with a study saying there are 4 steps that they should take. But one of the important things in all of that is they're saying that home comes first. Too often we have people with addictions and mental health, and so you have to clear that up before you can get home, get a housing. Housing comes first. That's the primary principle that all of these studies have said that reflect that. And I think we have to be more open in terms of making sure that we actually do that, and we can provide much more as a local government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to have a little rebuttal now. Just wait 1 second, please. Can we have the microphone down to candidate Birring, please?
So my first rebuttal. I am a person who is also renting, so I understand what it means to see all your income goes on first of month on the paycheck, the rent, and that's a dreaded day for me. I know that we are getting 1,200 people per month in Surrey. On my day 1 as a mayor, I'm going to ask Justin Trudeau, whose decision is to bring people in to give us $10 billion per year to build housing for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to question number 4. This one will start with candidate McCallum. The issue is policing, submitted by the Chamber of Commerce.
Good topic, I think.
Does anybody else want to ask the question? Here we go.
I think I have lots of support in this.
There is an ongoing discussion on the current police transition in Surrey. The process was started 4 years ago, transitioning from the RCMP to the Surrey Police Services. Proponents note Surrey is the largest city in Canada without its own independent police service. What is your position on the future of policing in Surrey? Candidate McCallum.
Anyways, 4 years ago, we went out to the public just before the election, and we asked the public, as far as policing, were they satisfied with the RCMP? In many, many surveys and many online and many in-person discussions, people felt that it was time for a change to our own police service. We're the only large city in Canada that doesn't have our own police service. So we ran an election 4 years ago, and we got in. Not only that, council in the first meeting unanimously voted to change the police force to our own police service. Since that time, there has been a referendum that's tried to look at changing, and it has failed. We have continued on to the point where the police service is up and operating, and it has over 200 officers in the streets every day patrolling out there. It's community policing. It's policing that has been brought back to the public, working with the public to make our city safe.
Thank you very much. Candidate Pelia.
Hello, I supported Surrey's own police even 4 years ago. In 2018, I contested as a councillor, and now I would see that transition is completed as soon as possible, and the police officers, Surrey police officers, get the best training possible, and they'll be taught that their job is to serve and protect. And we will also think of creating police training school in Surrey. So that's what it's very important. I don't want to waste any time on referendums or bringing back to RCMP like some of the mayoral candidates are talking about. We have plenty other things to concentrate on. We have millions of things which we need to do it, like childcare spaces and housing, and lots of things are needed. So it will go on and smooth transition as soon as possible. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Candidate Sims.
Thank you very much. Yes, the city of Surrey is large enough to have its own police force, and the only large city not to have one. A unanimous decision was made by the full council, and the transition started. Unfortunately, it started without a business plan, without full costing, without transparency, without openness, and without giving public the debate and discussion they needed to have and hear. So, as the transition system is broken, when elected, number one, I would freeze the transition. Number two, I would get data, information, the full budget, have a forensic audit done, and then look to see which will give us the best policing for the best value for our dollar. Without having full information, it would be a really irresponsible politician standing at the front saying it should be a red flag or a black flag. We need the full information, then at a public debate, the council to determine a way forward within 90 days of being elected.
Thank you very much. We now move on to candidate Wolanski.
Okay, now if somebody offered to pay your auto insurance, would you accept, would you go with that company? 100% paid. That's what the federal government was doing at the RCMP. They were, if you had a collision, they would cover it. Now it's being passed on to your pocketbooks. And we had this whole idea about police force. Now we're paying for two, and if we switch back, there'll be severance or whatever emerging. So this whole thing's gone to be a big money pit. You remember the movie? Or Other People's Money, Danny DeVito. It's always your money. So what we have to do now is do a cost-benefit analysis. And like Jinny says, you got to freeze the process and figure out where we're going with this. There still could be some reversal and integrate these officers into this police force without having to compensate them. There's a shortage of RCMP officers around Canada and stuff like that, so we're always competing, but at the time we have to look at the financial constraints.
Thank you very much. We now move on to candidate Birring.
A few weeks ago, I got an email from National Police Federation, which is the union of RCMP. It's in their interest to keep RCMP in Surrey because obviously it's part of their members. So here is what I replied to them. First thing, I need to understand why the transition was decided. Was it to reduce crime? And what's the proof that it will reduce crime? Is it the case of grass is greener on the other side? Because when politicians or government come with budget of something, you can safely assume that actual cost will be double or triple because it's not their money. They have a special penchant for squeezing us taxpayers even more than we are already squeezed. So regarding RCMP, if there is no rationale to switch to police, then about RCMP, they were supposed to be good, but during past 2 years, they have amply demonstrated that they are very willing to follow government orders to shut down churches, schools, force jab us, violate our informed consent principles and every medical principle. So I have no love for RCMP either. I need to negotiate with both of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We now move on to candidate Dhaliwal.
Thank you. We have made a very decisive decision that we will continue with the transition. But only difference will be the people of Surrey will know how much it's going to cost and how long it's going to take. Longer we wait for this transition to go ahead, higher the costs going to be to the taxpayers. I have met with the police chief, I have met with the police union, I have met with the police officers. We got to make sure that this transition happens in an open, transparent way, but at the same time, we got to respect our national pride, which is RCMP. We cannot pit one force against the other. We cannot divide communities based on the public safety. We will continue to bring people together, bring forces together, and get this project through. But at the same time, we will also strengthen our bylaw, so graffiti, noise, littering, those issues can be dealt with bylaws, and we will bring in a traffic police, and the crime-related, we will leave it to the police to happen, and our police force will be diverse force representing the face of Surrey.
Thank you. We now move on to candidate Hogg.
Thank you, and I'm agreeing with Jinny somewhat, and with Sukh. Firstly, this is probably one of the most important decisions that has to be made in the past 25 or more years and moving into the future. It is crucial for Surrey to make a good decision. We don't know what it's going to cost. I was told yesterday that it's going to be $521 million if we proceed. I've been told a study showed that the SPS is telling us it's $63 million. The numbers are all over the place, and we've got to know what those are. We've got to be transparent in terms of being able to make that decision. So the first thing we would do is we'd have a forensic audit, an immediate forensic audit, so we can actually get the numbers instead of having them politicized in terms of the process. Then we'd give people of Surrey the right to make a decision on that. Polling says it's about a 50-50 split right now. So the people of Surrey have not been consulted actively in this, and they deserve to have a say, and we'd like to take that to referendum to ensure that we reflect that. But you also have to know this is not a decision that Surrey makes. This is a decision that is handled by the province of British Columbia, and applications have to be made to the province in order to affect any type of change. That's the Constitution. We don't even appoint the police board in Surrey. We can give some names, but the province appoints it. It's a difficult and challenging problem, but there's a solution.
Thank you so much. We'll move on now to candidate Locke.
You know, it's really important that people do their homework, and it's pretty clear that the people up here haven't done their homework. July 23rd, 2018, the previous council set out a full process about reviewing how and if we could change police departments. That was done by the previous council. I know McCallum would like you to believe otherwise. That is true. You can look it up in the minutes. Surrey does have its own police department. It is called the Surrey RCMP. We also know we also do know by checking our own stats. You can check with Richmond, you can check a number of places, including the City of Surrey's own numbers. We know that in the past 10 years on the rebate from the RCMP, we would have saved, or we have saved $126 million. That is That is in the rearview mirror. Moving forward, we know we can project that to be over $230 million. Those are fact numbers. We also know that the Surrey Police Service was supposed to be fully operational by April 1st, 2021. That did not happen. That was a fail. That wasn't our numbers. It also didn't get the 50 boots on the ground by November.
Thank you so much. We're going to start rebuttals for this category, and we're going to start with candidate McCallum.
I just wanted to clarify something as far as reports and that. There's encyclopedias been written right from day one on our new policing. There's been a number of task force done, one chaired by the Honorable Wally Opal. All of it's public information. Our budgets, if you want to look at the raw figures that are in the Surrey Police Service budget monthly, go online, look at them. It tells you exactly where we are, and it tells you exactly what our budget is for the coming year.
Thank you so much. Another rebuttal, candidate Sims.
Could I say
Oh, no, hang on just a second. Candidate Sims is up next.
just one word?
You can have one next.
About the same. Okay.
No. Very good. Candidate Pelia.
1 second only. 30 seconds. Okay. See, police service, our own police service, we will have better control over us. It's on the police, it's better for us. The cost doesn't matter because cost is one time, but the safety and security of our people is more important. And the cost of the one time capital cost will be shared by all levels of government. So cost is not a really big deal.
Thank you very much. And a rebuttal from candidate Sims.
Thank you. For the last 4 years, we've had a fight over the color of uniforms and no discussion about safety and security, the shootings and the gangs and the people being killed in Surrey or the increase in crime. That has to stop. Secondly, we have met with all parties from both sides, and it's like having a Monty Python meeting. The numbers go anywhere from 63 million to 520 million. Go figure. That's why we need a forensic audit.
Thank you so much.
That's why we need data.
If there are no more rebuttals from that, we will move on to the next question, number 5, development cost charges, and this was submitted by PH2H. Despite living through an increasing housing crisis, Surrey still makes nonprofit housing developers who would supply Surrey with affordable housing and other supportive housing units pay development cost charges. If elected, would you remove the DCCs for nonprofit housing developers and ensure that nonprofit, affordable, and/or supportive housing projects of all types would have priority status over for-profit development? We're going to start with candidate Pelia on this one.
Just 1 second, just give me a second.
No problem. I'm sorry I stumbled over that. If elected, would you remove the DCCs for nonprofit housing developers?
Yes, I will support this, that people, we may take the charges off for the supported housing, affordable housing. It will be our commitment, because we need more units as much as possible. So all the organizations who can provide housing on non-profit basis, we will support it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move now on to candidate Sims.
We would develop a comprehensive strategy, work with the nonprofits, work with the the provincial government. Today they've released a pretty detailed plan, or David Eby has, of what he would like to see when he is a leader. And there are some real gems in there to help with affordable housing and with assisted housing and with low-income housing, such as doubling the capital grants for nonprofits. And as I said, we would absolutely give these projects a top priority, and everything else would be on the table to be developed in a comprehensive plan, not looking at things at piecemeal, but how do we expedite this type of housing as quickly as we can, because for a decade we have not kept up, and over the last 4 years, as I said earlier, 2% when Vancouver built 21%. So we have a lot of catching up to do, and you have someone who feels very passionately about it and will do it.
Thank you very much. We move now on to candidate Wolanski.
1948, that Canada was a signatory to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. One of them is housing. So I have 100% support for removing that and zoning municipal lands for fast-tracking these projects. So we come along, this is 78 years approximately of inertia, and this should be addressed right now, and that's part of the platform I go on, because these people are actually taking over the responsibility of provincial and federal governments, these nonprofits. Let them do the heavy lifting, but give them the capacity to succeed.
Thank you very much. We move now on to candidate Birring.
Right now we have a situation where everyone is house poor. Anyone who is doing any kind of job, no matter you're making $20, $30, $40, you're pretty much hand to mouth. And I really pity our next generation. The young generation, they have no hope. They are living in their parents' basements. So in 1960s, one person could do job and provide for whole family. In 1980s, wife had to do part-time job. And now husband and wife can work their butt whole day, whole week, whole life, and yet they are hand to mouth. It's all government engineered policies. Right now, as we said, we are welcoming 1,200 people in Surrey. Just think about it, where do they live? We need 300 houses per month. It's a no-brainer. So my plan is, I need to ask Justin Trudeau to give us $10 billion per year, $1 million for each person that he takes in, so we can provide them housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move now on to candidate Dhaliwal.
Thank you. In fact, I would agree with Ms. Sims, as she said that we have to have a strategic whole plan, where provincial government, she talked about the provincial government. I mentioned earlier about the federal government that has programs available for non-profit organization. So we should be able to help the non-profit organization through the means that are available. But we cannot pit non-profit organizations against the private developers when it comes to processing time for the projects. When I said that when we launched our platform, the very one thing that we brought forward, that every project will be based on the merits, and it will be an open, transparent process, and we will have the fastest processing time in whole of the Lower Mainland. So that's where I think a non-profit organization doesn't even have to worry about the time that it takes. In fact, there are many private developers that do great work in our community, and being corporate social responsibility, I'm sure there are many, but I can see Isle of Man, invested many millions of dollars in Peace Arch Hospital, and I'm sure that there will be many more developers that we will be able to bring forward that will help non-profit organizations.
Thank you so much. We move now on to candidate Hogg.
Thank you. This is an important issue, and it's getting worse. A recent study just told us that in the next 20 years, we're going to need 30,000 more long-term care beds as well. So the impact on our Lower Mainland area is very dramatic, and we'd better respond quickly and appropriately. I think we should bring back the City of Surrey Development Corporation, which dealt with the city lands. And it was the nonprofits, they took the city land and they developed it and they held on to it. The city never sold the land. And we were able to build basically what we needed on that land. UBC has done the same thing, and they're now making about $100 million a year profit off that. They've not sold any of their land, but they've responded to it in terms of the needs of UBC. We need to use that land to address the needs of Surrey. Also, with respect to development cost charges, we should be giving incentives to nonprofits for that. And I think there are lots of ways to do that, and it may be modifying and looking at the development cost charges, it may be looking at extra zoning, but there are a number of ways that we can do that. There are a whole range of possibilities, and we have to do a better job of providing that type of affordable housing, and we've got a lot of tools in our toolkit that have not yet been used. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We move now to candidate Locke.
Thank you. And I have raised this issue in council chamber a number of times. Absolutely, we should be forgiving the DCCs for NGOs building shelter and affordable housing. And I I really find it amazing that we're still not doing that in the city of Surrey. I can tell you, I talk with developers. Every time I talk to a person who's doing home building or developer, I ask them that very question. Are you concerned that this is in competition with you? And every single time they tell me no. We need to get together, keep the developers community together, the NGOs, CMHC, all those bodies that can help us to build the kind of affordable housing that we need to do. And we can put together a forum and get everybody on the same page, because a lot of the developers and home builders that are in Surrey right now want to be a part of this, and they want to help build that kind of housing for the need in our city. So absolutely, I would absolutely be for giving DCCs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we move on to candidate McCallum.
I think DCCs is certainly an area we could look at to not have. But we also have to realize that because of that revenue doesn't come in, then we're going to have revenue come in to replace it and so forth. And so we need a comprehensive plan to deal with it. DCCs does provide a lot of money for what our fire department uses in equipment to go to overdose cases and so forth. Same for the police. The city and all cities own their own police cars, and the equipment that is used often when they have to go to a homeless shelter or for overdosers. That's what DCCs does. It's basically capital equipment. And I think that it is a good thing to see whether we can do it, but again, we need to find another source to provide that, that revenue other than just taxes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder to candidates, we still have rebuttals available, 30-second rebuttals if anybody wants them. We'll move now on to the next question. Candidate Sims will start us off with the topic of the Semiahmoo Town Centre Plan. And this one was submitted by the Chamber of Commerce. The plan in the heart of South Surrey is projecting significant growth in development, population density, and employment opportunities. How would you support further engagement with the community to ensure unique features and services are included, like effective transit, arts and culture, a convention center, etc.? Candidate Sims.
Thank you very much. I've met with a number of representatives from the community organization, and they are really feeling the need for more consultation about the development that has been proposed and passed. They do have concerns around public transit, that they're getting all that high density without a transit system in place. They're also worried about the pressure on the school systems and where the kids are going to go to school. But most of all, they are worried about their community changing in nature. So for me, it would be very, very important to sit down with the local community, the organization, and hear from them, and have public hearings again, and start to address the issues they have identified. Before we start the build, it is really important to make sure that people who live in the neighborhood have had every opportunity to have their input, but also to do any adjustments that may need doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move on to candidate Wolanski.
We always build houses and we don't build the schools and the infrastructure in front of it. We always do the reverse. Clayton Heights is a prime example of that. We have laneway houses and overdevelopment that nobody really wants to repeat. So the idea is that you build the infrastructure, put the schools in place, then you build the development around it, the housing. That otherwise, we have portables all over the place. We have stressed out teachers. We have, I mean, a kid in a portable is like a second-class citizen. He should be able to be part of the main school. And I really think that we're wasting a lot of money in duplicity. We have a lot of organizations that are doing the same thing. And instead of pooling resources and that, we're just wasting money. We have a very good economy here. If we do it the right way, we can pay for all this. but we have competing interests that just want to sit in their silos and not solve for solutions.
Thank you very much. We now move on to candidate Birring.
When we have population growth, I would assume it's just the normal thing to build more infrastructure, schools, convention centers, gyms for them. And this should be a regular part of city government to do 5 years and 10 years planning, estimating how much population will grow. And also develop develop new areas where we have more room to build parks, schools, and gyms. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to start, the question is the topic of Semiahmoo Town Centre, and it finished, how would you support further engagement with the community to ensure unique features and services are included?
Thank you, Lance. And when it comes to community engagement, irrespective is Semiahmoo Town Centre or any other development that's coming through the city, mayor and council got to engage the community, and not only engage, in fact, they got to listen to them and implement what they want instead of having special meetings and pushing the projects through irrespective of what the community input is. And when it comes to building convention center here, and we have a candidate who has a very excellent experience in hospitality industry. Margaret Lang, who was the manager for Guildford Sheraton, and now she is the manager for the Hilton Hotel that's coming up on King George, which used to be the Pink Palace, and Julie Tapley from South Surrey, who are already engaged with the community to find out moving forward how would we be able to handle if the Semiahmoo Town Centre project that's gonna go ahead. And that's where my expertise come in. It's not my way or the highway. I have always consulted the community. I have always represented the community to the best that they want.
Thank you so much. We now move on to candidate Hogg.
Thank you. Well, the first thing that came to mind is if Doug would loan us some of the $1 billion for the 60,000 seat stadium, we could actually build something like 20 centers around the communities. And certainly the Semiahmoo Plaza, our Semiahmoo Center, I've met with some of the people who are part of the organization with respect to that. And they want to have a place where you can learn, live, work, and play in a community. 30% of the people employed in Surrey go outside of Surrey to work. We don't have enough jobs here. So we're talking about being able to ensure that we do tie together the ability to do that. Transit, culture, all of those things need to be available in at least the 5 town centers that we have in Surrey. And we would put together a 10-year plan to start doing that. And I've had a number of conversations, and I'm sure others have, with the people from Semiahmoo Center. And they're interested in talking. They just want to be listened to. They want to present their ideas. And we have to remember that the elected representatives report to the people of the community, not the other way around. And we should be responding to that and listening to them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We now move on to candidate Locke.
Well, thank you. And, you know, I have also met with the people at Semiahmoo, excuse me. I know one of the things that they want to see in their community is more mass timber builds, and that is something that we should be looking at and should be talking about openly. But, you know, it's always been quite a surprise to me. In the 4 years I've been there, right from day one, Rosemary's here, so I can point her out, and Rosemary's a planner. We have talked about this thing, at least for the 4 years I've been on council, and still Semiahmoo Town Centre is not satisfied with the outcome of what we're talking about. We do need to do a much better job of engaging the community and working with the community and the people that are going to be building. So that is something that is really critical. In terms of transportation, and I see Mayor Walker here, we have to work together as a region on transportation networks, and right through to to South Surrey and White Rock, and that is a massive issue for us to deal with. The arts and culture part is something that we all want to see in our communities. 15-minute neighborhoods where people feel that they belong.
Thank you very much. We now move on to candidate McCallum.
Thank you very much. I'd suggest to Gord that he go out and look at in South Surrey all the soccer players and look into their eyes and how excited they are when we get this stadium built and they can believe. As far as the Semiahmoo Town Centre is concerned, I've had a long history because I've lived here for 50 years. I remember when we worked with the community, and by the way, council doesn't make this. None of us in this room does. It's the community that develops a plan first. They are the ones that develop this plan, not us. We bring the plan forward. And I remember the original one that we brought forward. It had a 4-story height limit on it. And it was put to referendum, and the referendum still stands today. The new plan, the Semiahmoo plan, again, developed by the community and had a lot of community consulting. But I do also agree that this plan that was passed after community consulting needs to go through community consulting again, because it's got to be rezoned. Every rezoning has community input into it. There will be a lot more community consulting as we go forward with this.
We move on now to candidate Pelia.
Okay, this particular point number 5 started with me and finished with Mr. Doug, right? We're going 0.6 an hour. We're starting 0.6, right? Okay. So development of any kind is welcome. And we do need vibrant cities. We need cultural centers. We need a theater like they have Elizabeth Theater in Vancouver. We need more sports facilities. But we have to have citizens' consultation before allowing any of these developments. We need to improve better transit. We make sure that when new development comes, we have sufficient space for schools. And if schools need more classrooms, we should build more classrooms so that parents can send their kids there. And we also need small parks so that people can go and their kids can play. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to a rebuttal from candidate Sims.
Thank you very much. Community plan implies that there is a community. But what I have seen in the development in Surrey, whether it's downtown or this plan here for Semiahmoo Town Centre, it's buildings. Where are the fine arts centres? Surrey is the second largest city, and we have no standalone performing fine arts centre. We don't sponsor an orchestra. There are so many needs. When you're building a city, building a community, what you need to have is things where people can work, play, and recreate.
Thank you so much. We will move on to question number 7. This one, the topic is the Semiahmoo First Nation, and it was submitted by the Chamber in cooperation with the Semiahmoo First Nation. With the Day of Truth and Reconciliation on Friday, everybody is being asked to consider each of our roles in the process towards reconciliation. How will you support the Semiahmoo First Nation and other local nations with economic reconciliation within their traditional territory? Up first is candidate Wolanski.
I think economic opportunity can be afforded these people. The financing can be in place. They have a lot of business development things going forward. And the thing is, if you want to integrate people into the broader community, we have a lot of things that we're going reconciliation about, saying we had the Japanese Canadians restitution and the thing like that. I'm of Ukrainian descent, and back in 1914, my ancestors were put in internment camps because they're on the wrong side of the war. There was no compensation for that, but we moved on and we built what we had to do to build this nation we have now. So we're going to have to put these things to rest, bring everybody into the main community, and we can all get along because we all bleed red and we all have to be Canadian.
Thank you very much. We'll pass the microphone down to candidate Birring.
I've been hearing government after government comes, like Justin Trudeau, Stephen Harper before, we will do reconciliation, we will do reconciliation. And I'm thinking, what does it even mean to have reconciliation? So I understand a few hundred years ago, Europeans came here, native used to live here. Europeans had better army and weapons, so they conquered some lands. Natives were pushed further inside. So now we have a situation where we coexist. So does reconciliation means we go back? Or does it mean that is it about money, that we pay some money? So I have questioned what's everyone's understanding, what does reconciliation even mean? So whatever it means, we need to agree both parties and then act on it. It's as simple as that. Whereas Justin Trudeau, who says reconciliation, I believe his lawyers are actively fighting against Indigenous lawyers to prevent that. But on camera, he says we are doing reconciliation. So it's a huge question mark for me. I want to have a better understanding. If anyone has it, I'm all ears. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move on now to candidate Dhaliwal.
Thank you. And when it comes to truth and reconciliation, you know, Friday is going to be the day we will all be there in solidarity with the First Nations, because they welcomed us all into this nation here. You know, when it comes to particularly the Semiahmoo First Nation, you know, I have personally met with Chief Harley Chappell, and you talk about economic reconciliation. They have brought forward a couple of projects they want to move forward, and immediately I have had made contacts with the minister responsible in Ottawa and has reported back, and I have assured them that irrespective of what the decision on October the 15th is, I will stand shoulder to shoulder with Semiahmoo First Nation to further their economic interest that they have in those developments.
Thank you very much. We move on now to candidate Hogg.
This issue is an emotional one for me. Grand Chief Bernard Charles, who started the BC Association of Indian Chiefs, and I ran together the first time I ran for an election. When his son Weka committed suicide, I was asked to give the eulogy. And when Bernard died, I was asked to give the eulogy. I feel very passionately that we owe a lot to all of our First Nations. If we can imagine somebody coming to our country now and taking over, imagine what that would feel like. Reconciliation, and Semiahmoo in particular, have been very good about working through that. They're working with the City of White Rock. They've worked with Surrey. Surrey, we were able to help them get their water supply when their water was shut off. And now they have good water supply there. They've got the potential, and they've got a plan for building. They're going to be an economic force within our community, and they deserve to be. And we deserve to support what they've done and what they want to do and what they can achieve. Harley Chappell, the current chief, used to come to our place and shoot baskets all the time. He is an important fan. One of our first foster children was Indigenous. We're actively, emotionally connected with that, and I think this is a very important issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move on now to candidate Locke.
Thank you very much. I think, first of all, we start with land acknowledgements at city and city's institutions, and it's just shameful that that was voted down by this council. But I think there are lots of things that we can do to help and support and work with Semiahmoo and other First Nations in and around Surrey. We need to have, especially with Semiahmoo, more bilateral meetings. We don't do enough of those government-to-government meetings. We do know that Semiahmoo has a land erosion issue that is perhaps the responsibility of Surrey, and we need to rectify that because it's really it is really concerning them, and it's a problem for them in their development. But we can do so much more. We certainly need to with all land use, and I'm talking specifically about South Campbell and the development of South Campbell lands and the development of the road through Bear Creek Park. First Nations need to be at the front end of those decision-making processes so that they can comment, as well as with the Surrey RCMP or with the Surrey Police Service.
Thank you very
weren't part
much.
of that process.
We move on now to candidate McCallum.
Thank you very much. You know, I really do respect the Semiahmoo First Nations, and I actually have 3 grandchildren that are First Nations. And when I was mayor before, I worked a lot, and in the last 4 years with the school board, because we have the largest school Aboriginal kids in all the province. And the school and the city work together in a lot of programs with the youth, with the Aboriginal youth in Surrey. Also, as was mentioned, I worked with Harley both on the Surrey Police Service Board, which he's a member of, but also we worked as a city to provide water to them when they had some difficulties getting water. And we worked very, very hard at that time with them, and we worked with the federal government also at the same time to provide that safe water to their territory. So I just wanted to really encourage, and I feel very, very strongly about this, that we need to work together to have a far better relationship as we move forward.
Thank you very much. We move on now to candidate Pelia.
I attended a meeting a few weeks ago, and there they asked one question, that if we agree that we are sitting on an unceded and stolen property of First Nation. So my question is that it's better instead of, and then they asked if we, before we starting any committee, any party, any meeting, we should accept this. My solution is, the best thing is, it should be at the federal level. They should accept once in a while, once for all, that this is so. They should accept, and they should have whatever reconciliation, economic reconciliation with the First nations. That's a better solution. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We move on now to candidate Sims.
Thank you very much. Tomorrow is a day, Friday is the day for truth and reconciliation. And this question asks us, what is it we're going to do to reflect on the roles? Number one, I'm very proud to have been part of a government that enacted the first legislation across this country enshrining a truth and reconciliation. And as a minister, I got to travel around and meet with a lot of First Nations and have those discussions. But here at Semiahmoo, I've got a very special relationship with Hurley, and it goes back a long way. I think for me, it is dealing with people in a respectful way, dealing with them on an equal footing, nation to nation, and also listening. For me, the Day of Truth and Reconciliation is about listening. It's about listening to the pain. It's about listening to what people they have gone through. Surrey has the largest off-reserve Indigenous population, and the largest Métis population in BC lives right here in Surrey. We have a lot of work to do in this area, but collectively working together, nation to nation, we can create a just and inclusive society for all of us.
Thank you, folks. No rebuttals on this one. We're going to move on to question number 8. We've got a rather pointed question, this one on rental homes, and it's submitted by PH2H. According to Surrey's Housing Needs Report, There is an immediate need for 17,900 below-market rental homes, with an additional 22,600 below-market rental homes needed on the next 10 years. UNITI is the would-be operator of Harmony Apartments, a nonprofit housing redevelopment that was voted down by the current City Council in July 2021. If elected, would you support and push forward to have this housing proposal approved, or would you reject the Harmony Affordable Housing Redevelopment Project? We're going to start with candidate Birring.
I read about Harmony Affordable Project before coming here. And in general, I would say it should go ahead. I don't see anything wrong in providing people affordable housing. But I can speculate why people have opposition to it. I believe we all have some evil in us. I think some people living in that area might think they do not want poorer people in their neighborhoods. It's a stereotype, and it's very bad of them to live in their house but depriving other people. So I would say it should go ahead. But then we have even bigger problem in last 4 years. Just about everyone is out of housing market. So again, we need to ask Justin Trudeau, $10 billion a dollar. What do you guys think? Is there anything wrong in that? So that's what I would do, because that's where the problem is coming from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move on now to candidate Dhaliwal.
Sorry.
Yeah, we'll start your timer when they give you time to start. Candidate Dhaliwal.
Thank you. When we were there on the open house a few days back that UNITI had about this project, in fact, we earlier talked about that we need community engagement. We got to go back and forth, and certainly, we can be a force of good in people's lives, and particularly the ones with disabilities. And that's where this project is going, and I certainly inclined to work with the community and work with UNITI to support this project moving forward.
Thank you very much. We move on now to candidate Hogg.
Well, my simple answer is yes, I support it, but I've got more time. So I want to add that piece of property was the first low-income housing we had in South Surrey. And it was developed, CMHC had part of that, and I know CMHC divested that property to the province, and then when I was a cabinet minister in Victoria, we helped move that so that they could be purchased by UNITI. And I give full credit to them. I think they're the right people to have it, and I think this is the right piece of property. In fact, I think I had a little conversation with some of the people at UNITI, and I thought there should be a little more density there because we've got an advantage and an opportunity to do that. And I think the plan that they have, which includes some commercial on the ground floor, and again, we need more commercial in our area because we want people to be insured, that we don't have as many people having to commute outside of our community. So more jobs, and this is a wonderful piece of property and a wonderful example. I had the privilege of being there when Chorus opened, and I've met with a number of the people who are living in Chorus. It is a wonderful place, the way they have put that together in terms of the integration that's taking place. It is a very healthy, positive place, and I look forward to the same thing happening with Harmony Apartments.
Thank you very much. We move on to candidate Locke.
Thank you. Harmony Apartments are an incredibly important piece of infrastructure for our city. We need this built, and we need it built quickly. Absolutely, without a doubt, me and all of my team will be supporting this project forward. I have to tell you, I was there the night till it was quite a long public hearing. There was passionate speakers, one after another, wanting this project to move forward, and for no apparent reason, the mayor and his 4 councillors voted against it. This is an absolute disgrace. It was such a disgrace that was picked up by the Globe and Mail. It had a light shone on it right across this country. This has to move forward. It is a wonderful apartment building that is going to be for all kinds of people and in a great location. So absolutely, I will be supporting this, and we will be actually doing our best to expedite this project to move forward. It has been a tragedy that they have been postponed this long, and they must move it forward, and we must move it forward for Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move now on to candidate McCallum.
I have always supported these type of projects. Of course, when they came forward, you know, if the audience takes the time to listen, maybe they would learn something.
Okay, guys, we're going to pause the timer now. When you're ready,
Okay,
candidate McCallum.
Thank you. I was mayor when the original one came through. I supported it. I worked in the community for it. My whole life I've worked in Lions organizations around the world and these type of things. I've been in extensive negotiations with the chairman of Harmony over the past couple of weeks to try to solve it, and I can tell you tonight we have solved it. The project's going ahead. We're trying to get it on the first meeting next week. We may not be able to get it on that meeting because there's a couple of things on the BC government have to provide to us first, but it will pass and we'll have it up and operating as fast as they can build it in the next year.
Thank you very much. We move now on to candidate Pelia.
Okay, thank you very much for your patience, waiting for about 2 hours now. Anyway, my answer is just short and quick, like always. Vancouver has about 25,000 below market units, and Surrey has only 5,000. We need more below market units. So yes, UNITI proposal will be accepted. If we need more organizations like this who can build housing like this, no profit basis. And also we'll ask BC Housing to create more affordable housing in Surrey. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We move now on to candidate Sims.
When I heard the news, I was in Victoria at the time, that this project had been turned down, I was literally gobsmacked. And I made some phone calls straight away as to what the rationale was for this. Well, there is no rationale. This project will be built, period. But not only that, we need more projects like this in other parts of the city as well. When I was a teacher, I was a strong, passionate advocate for inclusion of students with special needs. Not to be warehoused, but responsible inclusion into the classrooms with the services they need. And I can tell you, when we are looking at inclusion, inclusion means those people with disabilities, and it means making sure that our housing stock meets the needs of the diversity of our community. So more housing, different kinds of housing in communities right across Surrey, and not, as a previous mayor said, oh, it's in the wrong part of the city.
Thank you very much. We move now on to candidate Wolanski.
I was at that documentary screening a few nights ago, and I saw how the project went, and Lorraine was a big part of that film, and Brenda Locke actually was very supportive in that film, and I thank her for that. There's a point in time when you got to realize that something, she pushed so hard, and Mr. Doug McCallum, you might have broke her heart, but you'll never break her spirit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Folks, we're now going to open the floor to rebuttals. We're going to start with candidate Locke.
Thank you, and I just want to say I'm happy that Doug changed his mind. I don't know what brought him to his senses, but maybe he can reconsider some of the other bad decisions he's made, like getting rid of the RCMP. But I also want to know if there's a plan to be compensating UNITI, because this has been a very expensive stall for them, and that's been very unfortunate.
Thank you very much. Are there any other rebuttals on this issue? We'll move on to what I think will be the final question of the night. And this one, we're going to shorten your response time down to 45 seconds just so that we can get through this in one piece. This one's called Support for Mental Health and Addictions, and it's submitted from multiple organizations and community members. We are in a serious opioid and toxic drug supply crisis that is not being fully recognized in South Surrey. There is an immediate need for mental health and substance use supports. This is for the health and well-being of the individuals and loved ones directly affected, and also for all residents, businesses, and our overall community. How will you work with community partners, organizations, and Fraser Health to address the current crisis in our communities? And we're going to start this one with candidate Dhaliwal. 45 seconds.
Thank you. Certainly, if you look at the plan that we brought forward when it comes to public safety, one part of that is right now the police officers are dealing with the mental health issue, whether it's in South Surrey or it's in Wally or Newton. And we have said that we will bring in mental health professionals that will work with different orders of the government as well as our police force and the Fraser Health to make sure that this crisis is been addressed in a positive way.
Thank you very much. We move on now to candidate Hogg.
It's a very complex and difficult challenge to face, and there are a number of options that are available to us. Certainly some people are proposing that we legalize opioids so that there's not the fentanyl in that are killing so many people. That's one issue, and I think that's problematic for most of us at this point. However, in terms of being able to address the challenges that exist there, I think that we have to provide, well, about 60, I think the report is 65% of the people who are dying of opioids are dying in single-family homes. So it's not out on the street that is happening, at least the majority is not. But I think that we also have to look at and be able to plan in an effective way a coordinated approach across all three levels of government, because the local government doesn't have control over that. Yeah,
thank you very, very much. We're going to move on now to candidate Locke.
So one of the things I talked about earlier was increasing the number of social planners that we have in the city of Surrey. We absolutely need to do that. We need more planning around these kind of very, very difficult social issues that we are dealing with. The other thing that Surrey Connect is going to do, we are going to hire in the city of Surrey a healthcare administrator that dovetails everything that we are doing on the healthcare front with Fraser Health Authority, because we are not getting the kind of dollars we need into our city and actually into this region. We need more support there. But I agree with Gordie. There is not a simplistic one answer for any of this. This is the human condition, and it is incredibly challenging.
We're going to move on now to candidate McCallum.
Thank you very much. And I just, one figure that we did a report, our fire chief on it, and they found the same as Gordie mentioned, about 60% actually die at home, and also they're construction workers, and it's because of they arrive home and they're sore and so forth. We need to address it from that point of view. Also, treatment. I mentioned earlier, we have just developed a critical care facility for multiple addictions with people. It's the first in Canada. It's up and operating. It's already showing huge results. We intend to build another one. It's called Foxglove, and we're going to build another one. It's got 236 beds in it, and it's operating and is being very efficient.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on now to candidate Pelia.
This issue is very, very serious. When I see the unnecessary people are dying without their fault, we are not guiding them properly. We are not providing sufficient resources, so we'll have to have built more mental health centers, and we have to consult with educationists, social workers, and social agencies, and doctors, medical help to solve this problem. So we have to be careful, and if whatever necessary funding is needed or grants are needed, we will provide it. So we'll solve this problem, because this is very serious. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move on now to candidate Sims.
There is no magic pill for this one. This is a very complex issue. It requires all levels of government as well as healthcare, frontline workers, all working together in communities to provide the kind of supports that are needed. We need to address the corrupted supply chain and the tainting of the drug chains. Supply chain is in serious, is causing serious problems, and COVID has increased that. We also know that with COVID has become increased anxiety and mental health issues and usage. So this requires all levels of government. The foundry system is a good start, but we have a lot more to do.
Thank you so much. We move on now to candidate Wolanski.
Riverview addressed a lot of these issues, but we have to have two-tier, like low barrier, and also people to get treatment. See, what's happening now is, I don't know why if you deliver a noxious substance to somebody and kill them, why isn't there a manslaughter charge attached to that? A drug dealer who gives somebody something like that and knowing it's going to kill them, if you and I did that, the lawyers would be all over us. So let's just get the judicial system to address that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move now on to candidate Birring. Could I get the microphone over to candidate Birring, please? Thank you.
Just like every other problem, this is also a problem created by our friendly government. By their policies, they are making people poorer with every passing day. And when people get poor, stressed, they go to drugs. Another way government has pushed people to the limit is, in the name of COVID, they have done constant fear propaganda for 2 years. Day and night, with the bought out media, they have scared people and put them into so much stress that one of the way out is drugs. So we need to prevent this, and those who are already succumbed to it, we need to help them as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Assuming there are no rebuttals on any what we've just heard there, we'd like to move on to closing statements. Because we really wanted to squeeze in that last question, and sorry for shortening it down so much, we're going to limit our closing statements to 75 seconds, and we're going to start with candidate Hogg.
Thank you. Firstly, it's not what I don't know that gets me in trouble. It's the things that I think I know for sure that just aren't so. And I think that that's one of the reasons that all of us have to be able to listen to and understand that elected representatives report to, listen to, and are a part of the people that are here tonight and in our community. Secondly, I believe that we do speak over 100 languages in Surrey. And the future of Canada is in Surrey. The future of, it's going to be known as Metro Surrey very soon. I was at Johnson Heights a while ago, and they've got all these flags hanging, and a little boy came by and pointed at one of the flags and said, "That's where my country's from, but I'm Canadian. I live here and I'm Canadian." I think that we reflect the Charter of Rights and Freedoms better than any other area of Canada, and that is the future as we're going to grow and realize that. I gave a TEDx talk some time ago where I'm tired of us talking about differences and all the challenges. Wherever you go in the world, most people care about the same things. They care about family and community and getting ahead, whether it's culturally or emotionally or spiritually or economically. And we should be celebrating that. No place deserves to celebrate what the future is more than Surrey. And I hope that we'll have a chance to all celebrate that together in a comprehensive, positive way.
Thank you very much. Moving on now, candidate Locke.
Thank you. I want to say that we live in an amazing city. We are extraordinarily blessed. We have amazing people, and I'm going to tell you a quick COVID story. At the beginning of COVID, as you know, everything shut down. All the soup kitchens shut down, and my very little church in North Surrey, and I did a food program. Inside of 18 months, we served 100,000 meals by the grace of the good people of Surrey. We didn't get any grants, any loans, any government help. That was all good people like the people here in this room That's who we are in Surrey. We get it done. We have an amazing city, and I'm grateful for that every day. I think the people that are running with me, I just want to talk about my team, the Surrey Connect team, are the best team of anyone up here. We have a team of people that are highly motivated, educated, and ready to do the job for the people of Surrey. We are ready to bring ethics back to City Hall, and we certainly want public safety to be a cornerstone of what we do. So please, on October 15th, consider the Surrey Connect team.
Thank you very much. We'll move now on to candidate McCallum.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. It's nice to see you in the room and certainly expressing your opinion. That's what we're all about. I think as far as what you've seen us do, the Safe Surrey Coalition, we promised to change the police. We promised to build SkyTrain. We had 21 infrastructure projects. We've completed all of them, and we're in construction of some of the major ones. As we go forward the next four years, we want to extend the SkyTrain. We want to improve the roads. We want to improve the social things. Foxglove is one we want to move ahead on very, very quickly. We want to build affordable housing. We're going to double our building over the next year, and we're going to streamline our process. And I think we do have a great city that I'm very, very proud of. I've lived most of my life here. When we come out, we do listen. We listen to the people. We develop policies, but then we do them. We're not like other politicians. We get it done and built. And we will continue to do that as we look forward into the future. Safe Surrey Coalition will move
Thank you very much.
forward.
We're going to move on now to candidate Pelia.
Since I announced my candidacy, lots of people have asked me, they say, Kuldip Pelia, you are a professor, you are a teacher, you have been teaching all your life. Why you want to go into politics? Politics is not good. I tell them that for the last 10 years, I've been doing social work. I've been writing hundreds of emails to ministers, and Translink, and Health Minister, and others. And then I send a copy to MLAs, MPs, Surrey Mayor, and councillors. You know what? Nobody ever answered. So that's why I want to become a mayor, so that if I become, I have more strength in my voice. The moment I announced, I sent a letter a few weeks ago to Translink, and I wrote at the bottom, mayoral candidate Surrey 2022. Immediately one guy came from there, and they met me in Surrey. This is what you want to do with Translink. I told him that we want UBC, direct service to UBCs, to SFU, to airport, and we need night bus service. So all the things, immediately he noted down and took it seriously. So actually, I need that.
Thank you very much.
In the city. Thank you.
We move on now to candidate Sims.
Thank you very much. I love Surrey. I am being compelled to run because I want to bring back openness, transparency, and accountability, and a level of respect back to the office of the mayor and back into City Hall. I am running so that we can address the real challenges that people are facing around housing, around public transit, around childcare. I could go on, but I won't. And I also want to make sure that people in Surrey feel that when they go to City Hall, they are treated fairly. There are no special interest groups. Everybody is treated fairly, openly, and respected. Surrey is a very diverse city. My Surrey Forward team is diverse, they're dynamic, they're young, and they're excited about building a Surrey that includes everybody. Our diversity is not to be tolerated. Our diversity is to be celebrated. It's our economic engine for the future. Surrey has the potential to bring in manufacturing, has the potential to be the IT sector for North America. We have so much. We don't just deserve tall buildings. We deserve art centers. We deserve recreation. We need resources and infrastructure for our seniors and for our youth.
Thank you very much.
And we will build it.
We move on now to candidate Wolanski.
Okay, part 2 now. I'm not advocating total austerity, just value for money. For example, when you go for donuts, get some Timmy's. Let's try to manage the debt load at a level all governments can afford. Stop borrowing from Peter to pay Paul to pay Mary. To all politicians, try to be a little more honest. If I promised one thing and did another, to the people I represent, I would be no better than a hypocrite of the lowest order. Let's take the hypocrisy out of democracy. I'm John Wolanski, and I humbly ask for your vote this election. Vote independent, not party at your expense.
Thank you very much. We move on now to candidate Birring.
Past Wednesday, an Amber Alert went out where government alleged that a mother has abducted her son. Do you think a mother will ever abduct her son? The reason was the government abducted her son and put her in the jail. This is government overreach. One of our points is children belong to parents, not government. So on October 15, if you want to rehire all the COVID vaccination laid off employees, which is causing shortage all around, if you want to really confront housing cost and get $10 billion from Justin Trudeau per year, if you want to fight against SOGI 1 to 3 and critical race theory, which is injecting poison in our kids' minds in the elementary schools, if we want to raise standards of academics and sports in schools so that we can empower our children to go for post-secondary education so that we can supply our own professionals. And if you want guaranteed religious freedom so that no matter whether real or fake pandemic comes, the churches, temples are never closed because religion has been around since ever and governments come and go.
Thank
so
you
vote
very
for me.
much.
Thank you.
We move on now to candidate Dhaliwal, please.
First of all, I want to thank the South Surrey White Rock Chamber of Commerce and the Grace Point Community Church for hosting this, and Lance, wonderful moderator, thank you. And most importantly, thank you to each and every one of you that has come out today because you are concerned about your city, your community, and thank you. Let's continue this dialogue. When it comes to United Surrey team, they asked me to lead that, to be the mayoral candidate, but I can tell you, each and every candidate is equally competent and intelligent. Not only diverse from the cultural perspective, but also from the political as well. We have a former MP for the NDP under Jack Layton that's running with us. We have Jeff Bridge, who's been conservative all his life, helped many to become member of parliament. He is running with us. And from this community, we have Julie Tapley, who's been a teacher and principal in this community and an activist for a long time. And also I talked about Margaret Lang, who's looking after the Hilton Hotel here. So this team will bring city back to ordinary Surrey.
Thank you very much.
Let's vote United Surrey.
Hey folks, before we hand the mic back to our hosts, I just want to thank the audience for being so polite in this, and I want to thank Liz and Adriana for helping me. This is a bit crazy tonight, but most of all, I want to thank the candidates for their thoughtful answers and for putting their time into this. It's amazing.
Well, thank you, Lance, for your great job moderating. And I also say thank you to the candidates and for you, the attendees. Thank you for coming. And Ritu, I think you have a message for our attendees.
Yeah, thank you for being engaged tonight, and please tell all of your friends, families, colleagues to get out and vote. We're sharing all of those information through the chamber channels, and we have a resource page. If you've made your decision this evening, advance voting dates are October 5th, 8th, 9th, and 12th. And then, of course, Election Day is Saturday, October 15th. And we hosted early to give everybody enough time to get to know your candidates. Obviously, mayoral, councillor, and trustee candidates. So thank you for coming. Thank you to Lance, Adriana, and Liz. and great partnering with you. Thank you.